So I guess it's natural that I get labeled a figurative painter or a realist painter. When I lecture on my work, I sometimes talk about how I'm uncomfortable with those titles. They seem to be very limiting. But as long as I can define what it means to be a realist or what it means to be a figurative painter, I've accepted that. What I mean by that is that sometimes a figurative painter we get lumped into a certain category where it's all about process and not about content. And my work is very much conceptually driven. So I do paint. Painting is certainly one of the primary skill sets that I draw on, but if you look back at my work over the, say, 25 years, my work sort of ebbs and flows between being straightforward painting to much more complex constructions. I've been doing a series of paintings that really are sculptural. In fact, they involve all different kinds of processes, from drawing to printmaking to sculpting to found objects, layered along with and alongside and within painting. So as far as my work, it comes from real-world experiences, concerns, questions, ideas, and sometimes it's just a visual response. More and more I work in bodies of work where I'm sort of picking a theme to kind of work through, and so that allows me to address that theme in multiple paintings, hopefully getting closer to some sort of truth or some sort of accurate way of seeing what my subject is. I don't know that that can be done in one painting, where when you have a series of paintings that are addressing the issue, you have a multitude of ways of looking at it, seeing it, and addressing it. You know, in respect to advice for young artists, in many ways I had it easy. I just was incredibly naive. I stumbled upon a painting class. I loved it, so I decided I was going to be an art major. To be honest, I just didn't think about things like, well, what am I going to do with that degree? And I had been a diving coach, and so I'd had this sort of experience with being sort of a leader or an instructor. And I did kind of fashion this idea that, oh, I'll become an art professor, and not knowing how incredibly competitive that is. I think for my position alone, there were over 300 applications because there are just so many people out there with an MFA in painting. But I had the great fortune of just being naive and just thinking I can do this. And maybe that's the way to go about doing it. Although I, in turn, now as a professor, turn around and expose all this to my students and let them know how incredibly hard it is. I think you have to have a real passion for it, and you have to have a real commitment to it. There's just no reason to do it if you're not going to do it 100%, because there are so many people out there doing it, because so many people would like to do it. So you've got to reach inside yourself and find what it is that compels you to make your work. And that can be a whole host of things. It can be just the sheer love of getting attention for what you do. It can be the sheer love of constructing and building something, making something new out of nothing. It can be the cathartic process. It can be this idea that you reach inside yourself and there are these issues that you battle with, and somehow you have to expose that and exorcise that as well as exercise that and create something out of it. In many ways, my work is sort of milestones through my life, through problems that I've worked through. So if my work weren't genuine, if it weren't conceptually driven from real-world experiences, I would see no reason for doing it. So that's how I came about doing my work. Other people find very different reasons to make their work, but for me it's very much a cathartic process and a little bit of OCD. I love to obsess on something and really invest all my time and energy into one thing as opposed to many things. But I guess the advice I'd say is that find out what's driving you to do it and capitalize on that. Really, really focus on that.